one way or the other. And because of time, you would not, I would actually truncate you when you're speaking, so please bear with me. But again, it's very important for you to share how these things resonate with you and how we can internalize this conversation, this theme, making Akwa Ibom. However, Akwa Ibom, you share what you probably experienced, but also what you would like to see in terms of collaboration. So I'll start with you. Just again, you introduce yourself, but just introduce yourself once again and talk about public sector innovation, what your thoughts are, and what you would like to see in line with the theme of making Akwa Ibom the next tech destination.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. So again, my name is Nsikan Ubi. I'm the CEO and principal consultant to grow their business and become more sustainable for long-term purposes as well. So for public sector innovation, I had this conversation with someone and they're like, in one word, what is it? Because you tech people like to speak English. Basically, it's just automating the processes of things around us. It's as simple as that. What I would like to see more from Akwa Ibom is Akwa Ibom adopting this. I mean, we're seeing a lot of in their own spaces. What I would like to see more, like we've been saying since yesterday and even just from the fireside that we just finished now, is more collaboration, because if we keep working in silos, there's only so far we can get, but if we work together, we can go further than where we are. So more collaboration in executing some of the things that we have in the pipeline.
Of ICT in Enugu State. I know I didn't give your name, so maybe just introduce yourself and let us know what you think of public sector innovation and how it applies in your state, perhaps how you think collaboration can work to make things better.
You sure? Okay. Yeah, good morning, everyone. Engineer Prince Lawrence is my name, PhD. I am presently the Commissioner for Innovation, Science and Technology in Enugu State. First of all, I want to use the opportunity to commend Amanda and her group and all the organizers of this event for this fantastic work they have done in putting this together. Sincerely speaking, when I sat down there and was having a conversation with Amanda, we actually arrived yesterday, and I saw a whole lot of talented young men and women here, you know, and I was quite impressed. I was already passing some information already. Government, oh look, the Akwa Ibom State government is doing a lot, guys in Akwa Ibom, and building an innovation industry that will be very difficult to beat in Nigeria. But while I was having this conversation this morning, and true to it, I was quite disappointed to note that this is purely a private sector organized event. So it is very, very disappointing to note that. I must say this. The truth remains that, like the previous panelist that was here before he left, for the ecosystem to work, it must take these two to get it work. The private sector and then the government aspect, which is the public. If this collaboration is not there, yes, you will still grow. But the point is, at the speed which you will grow, it may not necessarily be what is targeted. Because there are certain policy frameworks that is needed, that government needs to put in place to help you guys to thrive faster than you are doing right now. There are a whole lot of you guys that have so much to offer, but sometimes they are being inhibited by funds. Sometimes also they are being inhibited by contacts. A couple of you big guys that are here today, I'm sure some of you guys have not met them before, the startups and young tech guys that are growing up. But you are seeing them today, and hooking up with them is important. So you can imagine if those other are helping out to grow the ecosystem, because my interactions with Amanda makes me understand that, you know, there are these guys here and there who took time to make sure that this event is holding. They invested their time, invested their resources. So you can now imagine how big this event would have been. I'm sure you would have had like 3 times the size of the number of persons that we have here. So what I'm saying here is, it is high time the state government starts being very intentional about growing the ecosystem in their states. The truth remains that this is where the world is going right now. Whether you believe it or not, this is where the world is going right now. The era where children and young guys and newly graduates and all that will sit at home, and all they do is just engage themselves on Facebooks and Instagram and all that stuff. It's over. So even in the closet of your home, your bedroom, you can make money. That's what the ecosystem is all about. So if the government is being intentional about it, the first thing that they will need to do, which on our part in Enugu State, we are working very hard now to do, is to put up a very veritable implementation policy. Okay?
All right.
We'll drive that policy, and that will help. So once you put it, you give it a legal framework by making sure you push it through the House of Assembly. Okay, once you push it through the House of Assembly, then the state government will start marking certain percentage of their FAC for the growth of the ecosystem in the state. So I think that will help a lot.
Thank you very much. Enjoy a round of applause. Thank you, and thank you for your recommendations. Not from the government, but of course I'll just speak a bit about the government of Akwa Ibom State. It's important to note that this is a private sector-led event. It's like a party. It is led by the private sector, just like you have some government events. But like Oswald had mentioned, it's a journey. So we are demonstrating that we are in this conversation. We are trying to ensure that we, let them know that we have this mandate, and we are trying to work with the government such that in the future we'll collaborate better. I think before now, maybe we're not as organized, maybe we're not doing enough to demonstrate that we are trying to work together. So we have been in talks with the government of Akwa Ibom State. The commissioners and the SAs are involved in these conversations. They are just not involved in the planning of this particular event. But then we're working hand in hand with the government of Akwa Ibom State. Thank you for the recommendations. All right, so Elvis, I'll come to you in about 3 minutes. Please tell us who you are, what you do, and what public sector innovation means to you, and why this conversation is interesting to you.
Yeah, Elkana.
Oh.
Elkana is the father of Samuel in the Bible, the husband of Hannah. But my wife is not Hannah, and I don't have a Samuel. I have just 2 beautiful girls. My name is, like I said, I'm the director of Clement Isong Foundation. Some of us don't know Clement Isong, but most of us have Clement Isong in our pockets. So if you have 1,000 naira notes, the second image in that currency is Chief Dr. Clement Isong, who was a one-time CBN governor. And in his time, he was a very efficient and effective CBN governor, not like some of the things that we have now. And
Careful.
Yeah.
Just go to the point. Sorry, we've got time. Just talk about public sector innovation, please. Thank you.
And this, that is what we represent. And our vision is to...
Sorry. Silence, please. Silence, please. You
Yeah.
stirred the
Yeah, it
waters.
was necessary.
So,
One naira to $1.
So what you can do for us, sorry, what you can do for us is respond to maybe the fireside chats, what Oswald said.
Yeah, that's what I'm going
What
to
the
do.
recommendations.
Or to see how there can be a handshake between the public sector, the private sector, and the non-profits. Because every nation that has grown, there has been that handshake, and you don't shake hands staying apart. You don't shake hands staying apart. There has to be that coming together. So, for instance, I'm going to be very practical. My office had registered for the NHIS, National Health Insurance Scheme, for a couple of months now. We deduct some amount from staff salaries every month, but for a couple of months, none of the staffs have been able to benefit from that service. So when I came around, I was looking around and I saw my cover.ai, and I started having that conversation, and I saw how easy these things could be. So what I'm trying to say is that the country as it is divided into some set of people or systems of structure who knows very well where we're supposed to go, what we're supposed to be doing. And then we have some set of persons like the people in the ministry, departments, and agencies of government who sometimes don't even have the idea. But for the most part, if I'm going to ask in this room how many persons have visited one ministry, one department of the government in recent time to have a conversation about what they're doing and how it can be better done, you see why we don't have the public sector innovation that we're supposed to have.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Round of applause for him, please. So, Nsikan, I'll come to you. You have a bit of an unfair advantage because you were on the stage with Oswald. I want you to distill from the conversations you had with him what the way forward is in terms of this public sector innovation we're talking about. And for the benefit of the audience, what we are saying is also related to the fact that there are a lot of startups in the room, a lot of innovators in the room. There's a lot of government work that needs to be done in terms of e-governance, but there is no handshake. So what are the recommendations for public sector innovation such that when we leave this event, when we leave this room, we will see more of the local startups being in partnership, see more of the innovators helping to solve government problems in a way that we ultimately will realize a smart city of sorts in the States and also make Akwa Ibom the next tech destination. So what are your recommendations?
So I think for me, well, lots of things, because like you said, I was on session with him, but and we can't overflow the word collaboration more than like too much. So either it's between private sector or between public sector or between both sectors, I believe that looked into. So I know he tried to give an example of something his company has been working on for a while, but he walked in here and he saw a similar startup doing something similar, and he saw that it could be done in no time. I mean, there's no reason that company can collaborate with the government agency that he's referring to, because at the end of the day, that's actually the government agency for what he's trying to do, and that's the regulatory body. And so I believe that it's just collaboration on all fronts. And when you're speaking back to Akwa Ibom as well, I think it's also the attracting and retaining. So it's one thing to have amazing infrastructure and have the facilities in place, and we attract, brilliant minds like we have today that have come in here. But when you attract, you also need to retain, and what things have been put in place by either the government to retain those people. And whilst we say yes, it's a government thing, like also had mentioned earlier, there are some things that we conveniently leave to the government, but sometimes we actually sit down and we come together as a group, as a private sector group, it begins to create buzzes. I mean, using this event as an example, like we've said, this was a private sector event, but in one way or the other, got the attention of the government, and they want to be heavily involved. So sometimes we need to make those moves, and then they see that, oh, there's this effort being made, and then they come together to collaborate, or we push the collaboration forward. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. She's re-echoed, the ask, which is more collaboration. A round of applause for Nsikan. I think she did well as well. Prince Engineer Eze, I'll come to you, and thanks again for the recommendations. I will go to your own state because we want to learn from one another. What's working in your state and what's not working in terms of public sector innovation and the partnership or collaboration with the startup ecosystem? It's important for you to explain that so that we can, go to our governments, our commissioners, and our SAs to demonstrate how Enugu State has perhaps got it right or what Enugu State is struggling with that we don't want to repeat. So in about 3 minutes, please can you share your experiences from your state and your portfolio? And of course, you'll be frank and honest about what you're struggling with as well. Please.
All right, thank you. The truth remains that when I got into the ministry, I met a sleeping ministry. I must be very frank with you. But one thing that my governor was very quite clear about was to make sure that he fixed them up in the right places. So when I came in, what I did was try to rejig the place, try to bring it on board, because previous administrations, they had no business with, was to try to put together the ecosystem. Already they've been, get to Enugu State, the Enugu Tech Hub on the ecosystem is, if I'm not mistaken, outside Lagos, they are about the second best in the federation, I must be very honest. Yeah, please, right? They are the second best. So, of course, I must have to promote mine, all right? I must promote mine. So
Go ahead.
So like I said, we started having some engagements, and by the time we got deep into the game, I discovered that they've done a lot. Some of them have gotten a whole lot of international engagements, businesses, contracts, and all that, and they're doing fine. So what I now did was to engage the governor and say, look, Your Excellency, try and look at the areas where they have flaws, look at the areas they're doing so well, so we see how it's down. To be very honest, they have built, so most of them have brought up some products. Some are also going into conversion of combustible engines into electric motors and all that stuff. But they didn't have this needed government support to fund you and walk away. So what we're looking at right now, which is the challenge, is how to be able to attract the funding from, at the same time also, the government also in being directly involved, mapping out certain amount of this, because most of the money that comes from ecosystem to support, which is actually my proposal, we support these guys, we work with them. When they start making money, then we will start getting taxes from them, and it's a win-win situation. And they start paying back. And also, one more thing, we have also arranged and working very hard with some.
Called down the passengers. There was a guy in our bus, and he had this beard all over, and had to stop him. And we're literally harassing him, as a matter of fact. So basically, people who are now bearded, or citizens who are bearded, are termed Yahoo boys precisely. And it's almost like an embarrassment to these individuals because most of them are legit people and they don't have any issues with that. So I feel the government should have a more open mind in terms of accepting people as who they are. Now, not everyone who is bearded is illegal or does some illegal things. I feel if there's that safe space for people to commute to wherever they are going to, it will encourage more people to actually buy into the vision of the government and just, not like keeping birds is a bad thing, but just don't tag the sense of people as being irresponsible or being bad influence to the government. So I feel that that's one aspect the government needs to do, have an open mind to tech and people within it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All the bearded guys, I've seen your delegates. Clap for her now. She did well. We don't hear.
Okay. Thank you.
People with dada, we don't see you now. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Odiong Akpan is my name. I'm in the financial services sector, strategy and business transformation. My question piggybacks on the session we had yesterday on collaboration. And a lot of the narratives yesterday was really around public sector and the tech ecosystem collaboration, which I would like you to share, or the panelists to share your thoughts on how we can make that better. But specifically to you, sir, collaboration cuts across, it's not just public and private sector, between governments, so to speak. We need to collaborate. So an example is, let's say, look at Akwa Ibom, look at what we're doing in Akwa Ibom State. But also at the same time, we are aware that other states are carrying out similar initiatives. And the question is, if we are to create something that's pan-Nigerian and that can attract the type of attention and investment that is necessary, there has to be a handshake across the various state governments as well as the various tech hubs. For example, if you think of Rwanda or India, you don't know where we sit, what's happening in Gujarat or what's happening in Delhi. In India, we know the tech scene in India is working together and is delivering, you know, congruent solutions to the world, okay? So in your view, how can we break down the silos that seem to be nascent stage, and each silo grows to a certain level of maturity? That connection will be difficult to make. So at this point, how do we...
Mic from him and say, most of the questions you might not be able to answer here, so you probably pay your access fee and time. So, Engineer Eze, you would probably spend maybe...
Yeah, the point is, this tool, people, and then by extension, they now address their voice on the streets. Never should you ever harass anybody again who is in the ecosystem because of how he is dressed, whether he has a dread or not. It's his own fashion. That's his style. It's not of your business.
Great.
All right? So that's one part. Then secondly also, on how we can get to have this handshake across the region is very, very key. Okay, like what we're doing right now. If you have not been able to establish your home, you can't go regional, all right? So we're working very hard, first of all, to put what we have in Enugu very, very, very strong. By the time we have a very strong working ecosystem, and my governor also, who is giving tacit support to everything we are doing, then I can now start from there, writing to have some formal conversations and engagements with the Akwa Ibom State Commissioner for Innovation and Science and Technology. I can reach out to the ones in Address, the entire South and Southwest. We can have a meeting where all of us can now bring in all of you on board. We sit down and have interaction. By the time we get to that level, you will see that we have taken over the industry that they have in Lagos. And most of our boys, but what I have understood in the ecosystem is when people make small money here, in the next few minutes, they've run away to Lagos. All right? Those that even have more money, they will run out of the country entirely. So why don't we keep those ones that have been able to make money, incubate them, they start making money. Let them stay put in Akwa Ibom. Let them stay in Enugu. Let them stay here and grow the ecosystem. It gives a boost to the startups so that they can also know, yes, if this man can make it, I can also make it as well. So that's the best way we can go about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So no more harassment in Enugu State, and hopefully no more harassment in Akwa Ibom. Thank you. So in wrapping up, I'll give 1 minute to each of the panelists to share your thoughts. Elkana, you first. 1 minute, please. Just wrap it up with public sector innovation and our mission to make Akwa Ibom the next tech destination. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, I'm going to drop just 3 key points. First is there has to be sufficient knowledge transfer. Like has been alluded, at the side of the government, the knowledge about adoption of technology, the use, the transfer, the importance, the relevance is not sufficient. So we have to consciously have a dialogue, a sitting together, a transfer of knowledge. If you can take half of what you know about technology and how the cities can work and give it to a director in the ministry or an agency or a department, you can transfer it. You see how things can change. And that leads to policy entrepreneurship. You have to be consciously and deliberate about enterprising around policy. Policy is a business. It's a business of politics, but then It's how you can tweak things in your favor. Like the earlier speaker said, the difference between Silicon Valley and some of these places is the policy. So we have to consciously be involved in the policy-making processes and having meetings, dialogues, and conversations. And then the third thing is a feedback. So the goal of government is to we have to create channels, chatbots, different kind of channels that can help the government know how the citizens feel at every point in time.
Great. Yeah, okay. All right, thank you. Round of applause for him. So, Nsikan, you have the privilege of being the last speaker, so please help us wrap it up. You already know what we're trying to do. So, policy, private sector, public sector, partnerships, and collaboration for making Akwa Ibom the next tech destination.
Yeah. So, on private sector, I'll just say that, of course, within the room, we have a lot of entrepreneurs, but just also thinking about your businesses and your solutions being more long-term as well. I know yesterday there was a panel and someone spoke about your business outliving you, like legacy as well. So just beginning to think about, not just thinking about the now, what can I quickly do now, but what can I do now that